The Kansas City Chiefs are gearing up to take on the Denver Broncos for the first time this season, and I have a list of 10 things worth watching in this game for Chiefs fans to really get a little bit of a deeper picture of what is going on during the 2024 season. And the first thing is this. Xavier Worthy with 2 receptions will pass 2023 Marquez Valdes-Scantling in receptions. Well, he'll tie, I guess, with 2 receptions. 19, MVS had 21 during the entire course of the 2023 NFL season. Xavier Worthy right now has 19 receptions for 235 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, while he is unlikely to surpass Marquez Valdes-Scantling's number of yards with 2 more receptions, MVS got 315, so you're looking at 80 yards away from where it's possible that he has 2 40-yard touchdowns, but it is unlikely that he passes the yardage number with 2 more receptions, but he's already eclipsed the 1 touchdown that Marquez Valdes-Scantling had during the course of last season. He's also adding upside as a runner, something that Marquez Valdes-Scantling never did. He's also adding upside as a general effect on the field, something that we did not see from Marquez Valdes-Scantling. No one felt compelled to drop an extra safety into coverage because MVS was out there running routes ostensibly. I mean, maybe he was out there, who knows? We have no real evidence that Marquez Valdes-Scantling was, in fact, running those routes, but he was on the field for sure. Now, there is a lot of conjecture that maybe Xavier Worthy is a bust. A lot of people saying that sort of thing. I do not think so, though he has fewer receptions and fewer yards than did Rashee Rice at this point last season, and this was kind of the point in the year where Rashee Rice really took off. He is playing many more snaps, meaning that he knows so much of the offense. He is being required to be an integral part of the game plan itself. I think that the receptions and the yardage will come for Xavier Worthy. He had a couple rookie mistakes last week with stepping out of bounds on a route and dropping a pass, and I believe he dropped a pass. I believe that was last week, and he only had the 2 targets. So I think things will come around for Xavier Worthy. He just needs a little bit more time. The hands were something that were noted by many people as shaky coming out of college, but I think that a lot of what we've seen so far is just the fact that he's adjusting to the NFL game. Another thing that we heard time and again about Xavier Worthy coming out of college was that he was not going to be able to get off the line. Well, to this point in his rookie season, and this is just his rookie season, that has not been a problem. He's gotten knocked off course a couple times, but nothing too particularly serious. One final note on Xavier Worthy here is this. When the Broncos played the Ravens, Zay Flowers went absolutely nuclear against the Broncos secondary. Now, they play slightly different games, but they do some similar things in their offenses. Will we see an absolutely nuclear game for Xavier Worthy? And speaking of nukes, we'll get back to that in a moment. Now, the number 2 thing here, how much does Joshua Uche play during this game? He played just 9 snaps last week. Obviously, very new in the building. Obviously, doesn't know a whole lot of the defense. Here's the thing that got me last week. That entire final drive for the Buccaneers, where the Buccaneers drove down the field and tied the game, sending the game ultimately into overtime. FAU and Malik Herring were on the field the entire time. Now, George Karlaftis got shaken up. I did not remember that happening. Someone reminded me in the comments. But that is a terrifying kind of idea that George Karlaftis gets hurt. Mike Dan is already down. We don't have Charles Omenihu back yet. And all of a sudden, Malik Herring and FAU are all the Kansas City Chiefs have. FAU played 34 snaps last week, and Malik Herring played 27. I imagine that for both of these players, you were approaching with those numbers all-time highs in snaps. Malik Herring has been around a little bit longer. He's done a little bit for the defense. I don't know that I've ever seen FAU with 34 snaps. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be completely baseless in that claim. But man, I imagine if it's not his rookie or his record for snaps, it's pretty close. The number 3 thing that I want to talk about here is this. The Buccaneers had quite a bit of success running jet sweeps, running end arounds, running these sorts of running plays against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think it stands to reason that we're going to see the Broncos try the very same thing. It was too successful against this defense that does not give up rushing yards. Number 2 in the NFL in rushing defense. It was too successful last week for them not to at least try it this week with the Broncos. I think that this might be something that we have to keep an eye on for the season going forward, because all it really takes in order to change the complexion of a defense like this is knowing that on those runs, you can average 5 yards. That's all it takes. That can take the defense down a couple notches. Someone knows when I need 5 yards, all I have to do is run a jet sweep. I don't remember too many jet sweeps going against this defense so far this season. I don't think I have the tools to check, short of going back through the games themselves. Certainly nothing stands out in memory. So it might be that this is one of those things that was a weakness for this defense and nobody tried it. All of a sudden, the Buccaneers try it, unlock it, and the entire NFL says, oh, well, that's how you do it. That's how you do it against the Kansas City Chiefs. So hopefully that is not the case, because it would be a shame for this defense to have some weird and quirky weakness like jet sweeps. The number 4 thing I want to talk about here is the Turk. Tershawn Wharton is questionable. And as we just wrapped up a segment on Joshua Uche and the fact that Malik Herring and FAU were the defensive ends for the entire drive there, Tershawn Wharton has been your 3rd best pass rusher. It has been Chris Jones, then George Karlaftis, then Tershawn Wharton. So what is it that is hampering Tershawn Wharton? Is he able to make his way onto the field? And if not, is there something the Chiefs can do to maintain the pressure on opposing quarterbacks? It is wild how quick the depth disappeared at defensive end, along the defensive line, etc. We knew defensive tackle was going to be a little bit weak heading into this season, especially as far as pass rush is concerned. Tershawn Wharton has been a legitimate surprise and a welcome surprise as far as his production with the sack numbers, with the pressure numbers, etc. But man, when that pass rush disappears, when it dries up fast. Hopefully Charles Omenihu is not too far from returning. So if we get Charles Omenihu back, he has that inside-outside versatility that really helps a defense have a robust pass rush, regardless of the play, because you can put him anywhere, and then you have the versatility to put Chris Jones on the outside. It depends on where it is you want to line him up, where's the best matchup for him, all of those things. The number 5 thing here, will we see the return of magic? Patrick Mahomes, the Magic Man, has been big in divisional games, and he has been especially magical against the Broncos. If you look at Patrick Mahomes' highlight reels, you could watch it for 30 seconds. The Broncos will pop up somewhere. That is where he has done a large deal of damage in his highlight reels, has been against the Denver Broncos. He's been nasty to the Broncos. And here's, something that's kind of passé to talk about. It's kind of hush-hush outside of fantasy circles, and I'm not a fantasy football guy. But, man, it sure would be nice to watch Patrick Mahomes have a big game. Just seems like it's been a long time. When was the last time he threw for 400 yards, 450 yards? When was the last time he threw for 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions? It's just been a while. It would sure be nice for that to happen against the Denver Broncos. And if it does happen, I fully expect number 10 on this list will not be a question. And it'll be a little bit of fun, but it just sure would be nice Because, again, what you're going to see, and we'll talk about this in a couple seconds here on number 8, but you'll be seeing some other players get involved. I don't know if he has the horses to go for 400. I don't know if he has the horses to go for 450. But I think he does, because Travis could have an 80-yard game, a 100-yard game. Nuke could have an 80-yard game, a 100-yard game. You could definitely see Xavier Worthy with a big play and then a couple smaller receptions. You always get Noah Gray involved at least a little bit. One thing we are still waiting for is the return of Juju Smith-Schuster, and that's something we haven't really talked a whole lot about. That could be game-changing for the Kansas City Chiefs. What we've had right now is Justin Watson on the field a whole lot, and I think Justin Watson is a great number 4 receiver. I think he's a really great number 5 receiver. Not that strong when you're running him out there with the top 3. You've got Nuke, you've got Xavier, you've got Justin Watson. So if Juju Smith-Schuster returns to the lineup and all of a sudden he's taking the Justin Watson type routes, that's another viable target for Patrick Mahomes. We haven't seen him on the field with Nuke yet. So we haven't seen him on the field since he had 130 yards. So hopefully it was not something in that game that absolutely destroyed him. And he's not, that would be super disappointing to go out and get another wide receiver that shows up, pops off for 130, and then just disappears. But it has been the way that the season has gone for these Kansas City Chiefs. The next thing I want to talk about here, does Wanya Morris do enough to stay on the field? We have had Wanya Morris look good at times. The big thing has been he has caught Jawan Taylor's penalty bug. So I think that the idea of having Wanya Morris on the field suddenly becomes a neutral. So if he's not, I don't think he really performs much better than Kingsley Suamataia, but Kingsley got penalized a couple times in a game, and then all of a sudden his play fell off. So here in the middle of the season, the Kansas City Chiefs are 8-0. They're attempting to go 9-0. You have a prospect in Kingsley Suamataia who I think is a better fit at left tackle, but didn't have the reps in order to really sort of perform up to what you think Wanya Morris will be able to do. That being the case, if Wanya Morris is all of a sudden getting the penalties, why not put Kingsley Suamataia back there on the field? The number 7 thing there, I have Andy is a Mizzou fan. Is he a Mizzou thief? I don't know if you saw the Mizzou-Oklahoma game. There was one of the most interesting screens I have ever seen in that game. You had a bunch formation to the right side of the line. You had your quarterback, and the running back was next to him. Prior to the snap, so you've got these 3 wide receivers here. The running back runs behind them and acts like he's taking a screen out here. Meanwhile, this wide receiver stepped back, took the screen, and suddenly he has these 3 blockers plus all of the linemen coming down to block. It was a diversionary screen. I didn't even see the wide receiver catch the ball live because my eye was following that running back, as were both safeties for Oklahoma. Now, this is probably a superfluous talking point because it is unlikely that the Kansas City Chiefs will be running install before the game, and this play only happened last night. But man, that was an Andy Reid type of play, something that I imagine we're going to see moving forward for the Kansas City Chiefs, something I've never seen before. The number 8 thing here is this. Will DeAndre Hopkins take the next step for the Kansas City Chiefs? The first week he was in here versus the Raiders, he had 2 catches for 29 yards. Last week, he had 8 catches, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Should we see him take one more step forward, one half step forward, 9 receptions, 99 yards? 6 receptions, 70 yards, but 3 touchdowns. 10 receptions for fewer yards with 82 and a touchdown. A step forward in any of those categories would be incredibly compelling for these Kansas City Chiefs, because it would suggest that what we're going to get is a Nuke Hopkins that is learning the system still, improving connection with Patrick Mahomes still, and would spell things for the playoffs that I don't even know. When we're projecting that far into the future, how much Nuke is still Nuke? What's the half-life on Nuke's career? The number 9 thing here is fairly obvious. Secondary woes. I thought last week Joshua Williams had a bad game. I thought last week Christian Roland Wallace had a bad game. I thought last week Justin Reed had a bad game. I don't think Joshua Williams is bad. I do think that he can be a starting caliber cornerback in the NFL. Christian Roland Wallace, I don't know the ceiling there. I said very clearly before the season started, this is an NFL guy, right? I don't know what the ceiling is there necessarily. Will the Chiefs be able to find either someone or have Joshua Williams step up into that number 2 cornerback role to solidify this defense? I think the answer is yes, but I don't know. The number 10 and final thing to watch here as the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Denver Broncos is this. It's a question. Will the Kansas City Chiefs finally put someone away? The Denver Broncos are a team that the Kansas City Chiefs should beat. The Denver Broncos are the type of team that the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion, definitely have the ability to put away early and put the icing on the cake. Will they finally do it? Well, they have, like I said earlier, I think they have the horses to do it now. DeAndre Hopkins can definitely get you 8 receptions, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Definitely on the table. You didn't have that a little while ago. Travis Kelce can get you 8 receptions, 80 yards, and a touchdown. He was not getting open a little while ago because the defense didn't have to focus on anyone else. All of a sudden, the running back he just doesn't lose yards. Kareem Hunt just doesn't move backwards. So the Kansas City Chiefs are constantly ahead of schedule. Then you have Xavier Worthy in all of that speed, either as a pass catcher or as a runner. I think this team, plus the defense is definitely capable of keeping this Broncos offense in check. They just have to do it. Will they do that or not? It's hard to say, but I think they can definitely put this team away, and I think they will have the motivation as this win in the division. That's as close as you can really hope to get 9 weeks into the season for sealing a divisional championship, because that puts the Raiders or the Broncos 4 games behind you. That puts the Chargers, no matter what they do, at least 3 games behind you. Plus, you have a half-win advantage over them. So the Chiefs would have to lose 4 games, or I don't know how many losses the Chargers have. They would have to have, it would give you 5. You would have a 5-game win or 4-game window to be able to lose. I think the Chargers are 5-3. Whatever it is, you have a whole lot of leeway in the division moving to 9-0 and getting another division win. Put you at 3 division wins, 6 total. You have a tiebreaker. You have tiebreakers. You have the game against the Chargers already in the bag, meaning that you win 1 more over the Chargers, and basically that division is yours. So that is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on the channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.